Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
Irene
Hello.
Hello,
and Uriska. That's the first time we
Claire.
met you, isn't it?
No, no, I
No,
don't feel so. Is
and
it?
Claire,
Okay,
hello.
my memory is not to be trusted. Hey, Susan.
And Susan,
Hello.
hello.
Oh, Melanie.
Mark.
Wonderful. How are you?
Good to
Melanie,
see
hi,
you.
good to see you. And Suni, hi, Suni.
Hello. Lori.
And Kate,
Kate.
Hello.
Hello. Mark.
Mark.
Hello. Welcome.
It's funny with the picture Susan has behind her chair.
Yeah.
It's zooming in on the
Yeah, it
picture
is.
as if
Yeah.
it's as if it's
It's
Susan.
her. Hello, Jonathan.
So good.
Zoom back out.
So good to see all of you.
Yeah.
Uh, Welcome to everybody new. It's really nice to have you here. Um, I just want to talk a bit about how it works. You basically can ask us any question you have about your process and about the path, about your meditation practice, about anything. If you're doing the curriculum, if you're stuck in an inquiry, anything, you can ask us questions about that, and we're going to see if we can help you sort it out or inquire with you. And you just raise your virtual hand, and then we take it by sequence. Um, we haven't got a backstop today. We haven't got any
Except,
sessions or anything.
except for our own energy levels.
Yeah, which is a little bit depleted.
Might
You might
out
get
of it.
very, we're pondering a lot before we reply today. On a practical note, the next meeting is the 18th of November. It's the same link. The last one of the year is the 16th of December. It's again the same link. And then next year in uh I was
Well,
about
actually,
to say
before,
2016,
yeah,
in
no,
26.
yeah, but actually, before you say that too, we also have a POK
Oh yeah,
meeting
yeah, yeah,
on
the
November
23rd,
23rd, Sunday,
November
November
23rd.
23rd.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So, yeah,
And if you would like to join at the POK meeting, you need to send an email to Patty, and she will forward you the link.
yes,
In a moment, you will get a link to Patty, I'm sure.
yes,
Um, and then next year, we haven't really planned how 26 is going to look because so many things are up in the air at the moment.
yes.
So far, it looks like we're only going to have one retreat next year. And that one retreat is going to be like all of it in one retreat. It's going to be a deep immersion, meditation, and inquiry retreat where we are going to work it's a 7-day retreat. Um, and where normally with our workshops and retreats, there's a lot of talk and a lot of material and a lot of that. This is going to be different that way. It's going to be very, very immersive for you, for your experience. And then we're going to have a topic each day. Um, this is just an example. So it could be like first feather on the first day, where there's going to be lots of inquiry. There's going to be breath work. There's going to be walking meditate. We're going to try lots of different meditations with you. So you can find the one that works for you the best in the different situations. And then it's going to have that one theme of that day. So it's going to be very, very immersive and very deep. It's going to be, yeah, we're really looking
Yeah,
forward to that.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be
And
great.
you can read about more about it. And the program we have put up so far, it is obviously um, we might change the program because we would like for it to be alive and to be very organic. So what is alive in us and whatever is happening in the world at that at that point, that is alive as well. But if you go to theawakeningcurriculum.com, you can read under Retreat 26. You can read about it. And so far, that's
Do,
going to be the only retreat,
Yeah, as far as we know.
as far as we know
Yeah,
right
do
now.
you have dates
Yes,
yeah.
it's
for the
from the
retreat?
17th to
January
January
17th.
17th to the 23rd.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susan.
Oh, hi, Daryl.
Hello, Daryl. I saw.
I feel
Send
I'm
thumbs
seeing
up.
Daryl every single day.
All right.
Todd, he has a series where he talks with Daryl, and usually the recordings are between 2 and 3 hours long, and I'm not one to sit and watch 3 hours of just talk. So I have it like incrementally. I'm watching in bits, which means I'm basically seeing Daryl every single day. So you can find those on Todd's channel on Fetter Mindfulness.
Yeah.
They're really good. Daryl, he's really good at yeah, jumping into, okay, I don't get that. How do we work on that? It's very, very practical
Yeah.
solutions to things we come across on the
Yeah.
path. So yeah,
Thank
I
you.
can recommend that series. They're like 30 episodes or something.
Yeah, 30 some actually. I think we're up to
Yeah,
like 37 or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a lot of Daryl.
It's a lot of Daryl. No such thing as too much Daryl. No.
No, no, not too much
No, no,
Daryl. A
no.
lot of
I know,
Daryl.
I
I'm
know.
listening to Daryl every day.
You are. Um, I just want to say too, I saw it in the chat. Thank you for asking. So, is it certain that we'll be at POK on June 23rd? Because apparently the calendar says that the core session is to be determined.
Oh,
As far as
I,
I know, on each of each of the emails that it sends out with the list of calendar events, we are listed on the
but
23rd.
I think it's because we haven't said yes to the 23rd with Tantra yet.
But I mean, it's on the
Yeah,
POK
yeah, I know, I know. We
thingy.
we had just gone like
We haven't.
23rd. Oh, great, we're gonna do that.
Well,
But we haven't had an official yes, we're doing the 23rd with Sancho. So I think
okay,
you
maybe.
might be like, we need to make
Well,
sure that we
we
do.
haven't submitted exactly what we're talking about yet, which might be
That
why it's
that
to be
either.
determined.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because
But so far, we think we're gonna be on POK
as
on
far
the
as
23rd of
as
November.
far as we know,
As
you
far
can
as we
find
know,
out
we're gonna
there.
be there.
But thank you for asking.
Yeah.
What is that? Dude, they have like here we go. Where is the retreat going to be in January? Maybe you mentioned it. I missed it. Oh,
Uh,
yeah, it's virtual.
it's
So,
online. It's on
yep.
Zoom. It's online, and we have because we're here in Eastern time, and we have people both in Australia and Europe and yeah, Hawaii,
Yeah.
other part of time zones. We have a support group of people that have done the curriculum for a long time. So they are there basically whenever you need help during those 7 days. You can go on Discord and have a video chat with somebody if you need help with something. We also have supporters that are going to do silent sets meditations for people that are in other time zones. So you are active in the entire period, even though, it might be nighttime here in Eastern.
And we usually have something for each retreat where I've kind of pre-recorded a meditation or something so that people can use it at if they're like in Europe, so that if we're starting at 9 in the morning here, their day is already half done by
3
that
o'clock
point.
there,
So
yeah.
we try to make it as accessible for everyone as much as
No
possible.
matter which time zone you're in. And also that if something should come up, that you're not sitting alone with it, but there is actually a group of people ready to help you. And our supporters have been really good to always be available in the video chat, so you can just jump in and have a video conversation with some of the supporters if we're not there. Okay.
This is Susan. I want to say I'm so excited for the retreat. I've loved the two I've attended. They've been life-changing in the best way.
Oh, thank you so much.
Susan.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. Okay, so now's the time where you can just raise your hand and
Coming in yet?
then we take it from there. Have you seen Leela?
Leila hasn't been here, so we don't have a co-host at the moment. So I'm just going to be letting people in as I see them. Who's going to be the brave one? Oh, Irene. Okay.
Irene is the brave one. We
Let's
know
get
that.
us,
We know Irene is the brave one.
uh,
Spotlight for everyone.
Thank you. I'm really slow today. There we go. Hello, Irene.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
It's good to be here. I love it when life kind of tosses me here. It feels like life deposits me here every now and then. And I'm always grateful to see the two of you when it does that.
Thank you so much.
There's such a natural flow to it. Like there's no, it just happens.
That's wonderful. The last we saw you, you were deposited in France.
I was.
Oh,
I was in the midst of
In
what
Paris.
appeared to be a lucid dream, and I really hit. I was so grateful for this. I left home, and it was like the door shut to my life.
mm,
I had no communication with anyone, my husband, my children, for 12 days.
wow.
And it really felt like it felt like I had died to
Mm.
this life and opened life in France to this adventure that was moment to moment.
Mm.
And I don't think that I spoke to you when I got to this small town in the southeastern part of France.
No.
No,
And
no,
I was on
you were in Paris.
Prednis.
Yeah, you were in
Yeah, I
Paris.
was in Paris
Yeah.
when I spoke with you. And I had been diagnosed with asthma. I was on prednisone and I was on an inhaler and gasping for breath.
Oh.
And I arrived in this small southeastern town. And uh, just by way of allowing life to lead, I got to the train station in Paris and didn't know where to go. There was no pull to go anywhere. I was in this lucid dream, and no matter where I went, I was still going to be within the lucid dream. So it didn't really matter where I went.
Yeah.
It was a really strange place to be. So I asked the women at the train station who were working behind the counter if they could help me find a destination. And they chose a destination for me. And they had a blast doing it because they were like, well, you could go here. And they were getting so excited about all the places I could go.
That's
And
fun.
finally, it was this small town in the southeastern part of France and about an hour from Geneva. And I said, how far is the train? And they said, 4 hours. I said, that sounds lovely. I got on the train and I made a reservation at a hotel and I arrived there. And unbeknownst to them or to me, there was this yearly festival that was going to happen there that weekend for which people make reservations a year in advance. But I didn't know this. So I arrived at my hotel and I put things down and I thought, yeah, I would like to stay a few more days here. This is a lovely place and I'll extend my stay. So I stopped at the hotel and they said, oh, you won't find anything here. You won't find anything in town. And I said, okay, no worries. And I looked online and I couldn't find anything in that town or the next town or the next town. No Airbnb. There was nothing. And now I'm tired. The time zone is catching up with me. And I'm sitting in front of this lake. And what arises is I'm alone in the universe and no one is coming to save me.
Mm.
And it was as painful on an emotional level as passing a kidney stone is on a physical level.
It's like
And
existential angst. That is like, it's so, so deep in all of us. It's also why all of
oh,
us yearn for connection. Whenever we talk with someone or argue with someone, what we are really yearning for is that connection. So what you're talking about there is like the baby being left in the cot. It's like the child, mom and dad turning the back because you've been naughty. It's like the worst of the worst to experience for us as humans because we are pack animals. We thrive on connection.
yeah, yeah. And that's exactly how it felt.
Mhm.
And and it moved through and I was just exhausted and I stood up and I walked back to the hotel and I got on with Vince's bot and was doing some some engaging that way. And then in the morning I went downstairs and I stopped at the front desk and I said, have you by chance had any cancellations? And she said, yes, for one night.
That's amazing. That's
Said,
amazing.
wonderful. I went and got a bicycle. I drove all over town, You know, it was just beautiful. And then the next day at another hotel, another night opened up. And so meeting the pain of that angst really allowed me to be totally okay being alone,
Mm.
really okay being alone. And so I can't even identify anymore what is falling away, what part of the construct is dropped off. It just feels there's a certain amount of, though I wouldn't call it depression,
Mm. That
but
was exactly what I was going to ask you about.
yeah, no, I wouldn't call it depression, but there's just a going through the motions without caring too much about what happens. I don't know. There's a loss of caring, or not caring, identifying as the carer, maybe, which is
But
different.
if you're up for it, I would like for us to dive into, because there's still that underlying belief of an experience being real. There's still a starting point in it. So if you would be up for it, I would love if we could dive into that.
I would love that.
So for everybody else, what I'm referring to is that what Irene experienced with sitting and having that feeling of being utterly alone, of being utterly, you know, unloved in the entire universe, that is so old. That feeling is so old and is so recognizable to all of us. We have all had periods in our lives where we have just felt that deep, deep, deep loneliness. For when if you have experienced it at a young age, then as a teenager, that is when you start to consider to unaliving yourself, or where we have that feeling of being absolutely alone, and then we start to seek for a partner or for friendships or for meaning, and where we divert away from that feeling of inadequacy, because what we tend to do is that we turn it inwards, that there's something wrong with me since I am alone. So we start to divert from that feeling of inadequacy or feeling of being alone, which is so uncomfortable. So we focus on more or less the opposite. Look how perfect I am. And now I am an accountant. And now I am, revered by my peers. And now I have lots of money. And now so we try to mask over that deep, deep feeling of aloneness that we have. And at some point after 40, we realize that, okay, that is made of spider web. It's so thin. It's like house of cards. It just the smallest blow, a trip to Paris where you feel alone, and then all of it just come tumbling right away. And it's because all of it was built on diversions for really feeling what is there. So for everybody else, I can warmly recommend you to look into that feeling of being alone in the universe. And when you have reached that point, I would like for you to pose the question of that starting point. Can you ever be alone in the universe? And who is the I that is alone in the universe? I mean, I'm sitting and making an inhalation right now that is partly Todd's exhalation from the plants, but it's also containing atoms and molecules from Jesus, from the Big Bang, from everybody who is here. I'm sitting and inhaling the same oxygen that you guys have inhaled. It is impossible for me to be alone in the universe. There is no beginning and end on this being, what is perceived as a biological being here, and this is my edge. Well, is it really? Are you sure? We know that the skin is the biggest organ that we have, because we're breathing, we're taking everything in. You can feel on your body when somebody's angry. not by what they're saying or with your thoughts, but you can feel it in your body, you know? So where does that boundary that we believe is there, where is that boundary actually? And is it actually there? Or is it just something we had just concocted in our minds that is just mind created? If you really truly dive into that dissolving of beliefs of who I am, who is that I that we are clinging to? And if you let that go, what are you actually letting go of? Toddy has such a good metaphor where he says that if you have a pool full of water and everybody says there's no water in that pool at all, does that change anything? And if they suddenly say, oh, that pool is full of water, does that actually change anything? Is there suddenly more water in the pool than there was all along? And it's that belief that we can have about an I being here. When you don't believe in that anymore, has anything really changed? Or is it just you seeing through a delusion that has been there all along? Can you ever be alone in the universe? If there isn't an I, a separate I here anywhere with any boundary whatsoever, how can that be outside of the universe? I mean, we're on a ball, molting ball, flying through space. Um, and there's no difference between, there's a difference in the density of the molecules here and here, but there's no difference in the molecules, if I can say it like that. So me identifying with this density that is here as a separate self, it's just mind formation. It's just mental formations that I'm creating. And in that, I'm creating a distance to everything else and everyone else. But that is just mind created. There is no difference. I am you. You are me. And we are, the trees and the animals and people that has walked the earth and people that will walk the earth.
Mm.
So really
I get
dissolving.
that.
Yeah,
I
really
get that. I
dissolving
get
that
that
belief.
intellectually. I get totally. I'm totally on the same page with you. But when that was happening, that was really felt very, like you said, almost like a baby in a crib.
Mm.
It was old and all of that. So so there's the intellectual understanding and then there's the experience that felt so real. So what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your when you were sitting there? I'm sure there was a lot of bodily sensation that was arising with that thought, right? So do you know now, and it's always harder looking back on it, but were you aware of which one came first? Did you have sensation in the body and then a thought about I am alone in the universe. There's no one here coming to help me. Or was that thought first and then
Yeah. The thought was first, I think.
good?
That's my sense.
Yeah.
My memory is horrible.
Well, join the club. And it's really hard with those things because they tend to come on a lot of times before we're really aware of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in a different country, you're sitting down on a bench, and all of a sudden you just get flooded with this emotion. And it is hard when we're not like actively engaging and parsing out, okay, what just happened? Um, so, but with this, because it's pointing back to something that is so old and so eh, base in our experience, it's important to notice that because it's still there. It's not that you've probably gone through it now and then it's just totally depleted itself. It's still a potential for this biological organism to be in a situation where it suddenly feels very much isolated and very much at the whims of the forces of something much greater than it. It's the perspective that we've had for most of our lives. I am here, located in this little body, and I have to protect myself or manipulate the world in such a way that I am safe as I move through it because there are countless animals, bacteria, and people who are out there to harm me. And even if that's in the case of just nobody having a free room for me to, take for the night, that sort of thing has that deep biological urgency of survival built into it.
Mhm.
So actively, when you're not in one of those situations, bringing to mind something that engages that concern, something that feels existentially dangerous. If you bring that to mind and then feel that arising in the body,
Mhm.
and with that, as it arises, does this feel um, like it is pointing to the vulnerability of one specific character, one characterizable being? Like there is the one who is seen to be in danger, the one who is at threat. Do you have a representation of that in the mind? It might be a visual image of the body. It might be more of a gross conceptualization of everything that you've taken to be Irene over the past 10 years or something. It might be a physical sense in the body of the body's existence here. What are you actually experiencing when you have that fear about the existential threat of mortality, which is really what it gets to the point of?
There's an energetic something like just above the solar plexus in the lower part of the chest. It's kind of has a flavor of grief and sadness.
Mm,
Um, I'm feeling it on the inside.
mhm.
Uh,
As you breathe into that sensation in the solar plexus, feel into it and ask, who is this grief for? It's good. Just keep breathing through
oh,
it.
who is this grief for? I don't know who it's who is it for?
Don't use the mind. Just drop in the question like a pebble in a pond and just see what it evokes.
What comes up is children.
Mm.
The innocence of children. That's what comes up.
Mm. And what does that mean for you in you? Where is that innocence in where is that the vulnerability of that innocence that you hold?
It's so ephemeral. This vulnerability is like ephemeral, and it's almost it can't even be protected.
Mm. What
There's
give
nothing strong enough to protect this innocent vulnerability.
what gives the impression as you're feeling that, what gives you the impression that it is actually vulnerable and needs to be protected?
It's partially something in the chest area, but it's also partially a belief, I think, or a narrative
Yeah.
of yeah, I think it's partially a belief that about vulnerability
Mm.
or about not being able to protect.
Yeah. Can you find something in your direct experience right now which is actually quantifiably vulnerable? That is actually in need of protection?
Huh. I don't find anything right now. But I see that previously there was some image of like a baby, like a child that isn't present now.
As a baby, we are incredibly vulnerable in terms of the physical being. It is at the mercy of parents or caregivers to provide what it needs to survive. It can't survive on its own. As we get older, we extrapolate that out to not just being the vulnerability of the physical organism for getting its needs met, but it gets taken to mean something more. It becomes the idea that this being, whatever that is, this awareness, this life force, whatever it is that we experience, that is also at the mercy of the gods and everything else to protect it, to be protected, and that it
Mm.
is in some way vulnerable. But that's just this arising belief which has been built off of this primal um, primal biological defense mechanism to keep the biological organism alive. So every time we have that, it's useful to look for where is that vulnerable being located that is supposed to be the one that needs protection. Can it
Mm.
be found? That's the belief that's pointing to something which doesn't actually exist.
Mhm. Yeah, and in this moment, it can't be found.
Exactly. And in no moment can it ever be found.
Mm.
But it's important for us to practice so that we can remember that in times where it feels very, very true and
Yeah,
very sticky, like sitting on a bench with no place to stay in a foreign country.
yeah,
That feeling of isolation and of powerlessness creates that same urge in the body that I need somebody to take care of me. I need something else. And in that, we completely overlook the fact that, as Pernilla said, we are in that moment entirely connected to everything in the
right.
universe. That we can't define the Irene sitting on the bench separate from anything else. So those are the moments where if we can remember to come back to the present and look for what it is that is presumed to be vulnerable in this moment and allow that looking to dissolve that core of believed vulnerability, that one that is believed to be vulnerable, that dissolves. And with that, it can open you to having that experience of just being in the flow of whatever is moving around you in that moment. You
Mm-hmm.
are then a part of the country. You are a part of everything that's there.
Yeah.
And then we just keep coming back to that as much as we can remember.
Well, I trust that life will give me the opportunity to practice that.
Without doubt.
To be clear about it,
Without
or
doubt.
not,
Without
or
a
not, or maybe I don't need it. But yeah, I see that. And it does take practice to,
It does.
in those very, very intense moments, to recognize, where is that one that needs protecting?
It's a
And
very strong
And
urge.
and also it's very important in that moment not to bypass at all, but because we can very quickly jump into the but there is no one here.
Yeah.
But that is bypassing that old hurt that the body still remembers as being real because it was perceived as real.
Yeah.
So it's really allowing to feel that alongside and but then just be the adult in the room that we didn't have access to back when the hurt was created.
Yeah.
So it's not bypassing at all. It's really embracing every experience you have in the moment, but still being that rooted adult in the room that can say, but feel into this. I'm right here. Breathe into it. Notice that there is an end of all of it. And where is the one that is scared or feeling vulnerable? And is vulnerability actually a thing, or is it a mind created experience in the moment?
mm,
so much of what we deal with as adults is like leftovers
Yeah.
of old biological processes from childhood that
Yeah.
have taken on very aggrandized new meaning.
Their own lives. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the urge to cry, to say I'm hungry and need food, gets taken to mean all sorts of grand existential things that we feel like we need. And it's because the mind is basically using, I mean, we I had read a long time ago, I can't remember a lot of the specifics, but it's like even in terms of where we have reused certain parts of the brain as we have evolved to um, uh, take on more and more kind of culturally significant or socially relevant tasks. So like for instance, when we see something like actually, like rotting food, or we smell rotting food, we feel physically disgusted. It's like we feel revulsed. But then when we hear something politically that we disagree with, we say, "Oh, that's disgusting. I'm disgusted by that thing." And it's because that's actually using the same part of the brain to take in the emotional beliefs about um, value judgments and political beliefs and all that. It's using the same parts of the brain that actually engage with biological disgust that keeps us from eating
Eating
rotting
rotting
meat
food.
and getting sick. So we are using those same basic structures with these kind of more evolved and subtle sociological overlays, and we kind of do the same thing with all of these
Everything.
different,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like we can kind of see the biological underpinning, but then we put so much more on top of it and make it into something so much, uh, yeah, just more
Yeah, but yeah, different.
grandiose
Yeah,
and different from
and
how
different
it,
from what
what it
and
really
it's
is.
also why it is possible to pick everything apart because a lot of the visceral experiences that we have are actually not visceral. It's just different parts of the brain that has connected something, what is firing together is wiring together. So we just have ideas about something being in a certain way, and if we don't question it, we just assume that is how it is. But in the
Mhm.
moment, we can question it and pick it apart, and then you will have a new visceral experience of reality in this moment that is very, very different than what we were wired to believe.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's
And
great.
welcome home.
Yeah, yeah. Nice to have you back. Okay. Who else would like to speak? I just wanted to check and see if Leela wrote me. It's funny that she's not here. I hope she's okay. No,
Do you want me to send her message?
well, I can send it. Oh, Jonathan raised his hand.
I just write Leela then.
Okay. Hello. I'm just going to. Hello, Jonathan.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome.
I don't know if I have a question. I don't even know why I raised my hand, but I thought I'd say hi.
Well, I
Hello, good to
appreciate you
meet
being
you.
here.
Yeah. I recently came across your channel and really started enjoying the awakening curriculum.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. And I'm
Um,
happy you're coming to the meeting here in the beginning of it because a lot of times when you start to listen to the lessons, there's lots of things that might, feel weird or off, or you're not really sure in which direction to go or how to combine this with the knowledge you already have. So it's a great idea to come at a meeting this early in your process.
mhm. Yeah, no, I for sure see a lot of correlations between systems.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing?
Um, a lot. I've been doing, maybe you've heard of A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Oh,
I read through
lovely.
that and did a lot of the workbook. Didn't finish it, but did a lot of that. I followed Hinduism, Buddhism. At one point, I followed paganism.
Yeah.
Um, grew up grew up Christian. So I've been in just a lot of circles.
Yeah.
Um, I guess if I were to say I have a question right now, it would be just there's just so much confusion right now as to what course to take.
Yeah, I get
Um, because it's like, do I even have a choice?
that.
Um, so there's that. There's kind of the struggle between the absolute and the relative. Like, do
Yeah.
I just don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's a really, really good question, and exactly what you talk about, we struggle with the relative and the absolute. The way that we work is very, very low practical, everyday life. How do we deal with it? Because both of us come from a Buddhist background, and both of us have worked a lot with non-duality and non-self and anatta in Buddhism, and it can be very, very cerebral. You
Mm.
can get
Hmm.
a lot of knowledge and gain a lot of insight on the meditation cushion, and then you go out in traffic and experience road rage, or then you argue with your family member, or then you get, miffed at your neighbor or whatever. And in
Hmm.
our experience, it's just like that's not good enough. And the way that we see it is that it's very easy to be a monk secluded on a mountain sitting in meditation and you have all your food delivered. The real art is to be a lay person like we are
Mm.
in an everyday life and keep reminding yourself, keep being present and keep working with equanimity in your everyday life.
Mm.
So keep
Hmm.
having that clarity about what is actually real in this moment. Not what I think is real, but what is actually real in this moment when I get a tax bill I didn't expect, or when somebody fender bender me in traffic, or when I get fired from my job, or my partner leaves me, or my dog dies, or anything happens. That practice that we're doing every single day is helping us. It's like learning how to roller skate, it's helping us. So when we end up in those peak experiences that all of us have in life, in an everyday normal life, we have the practice to stay focused and staying clear and stay equanimous with feet solid placed on the ground and very much aware of what is actually arising in this moment, what is actually real, and what am I reacting to? What is my body reacting to in this moment that is not real? I think it's
Hmm.
real and it feels real, but is it really real, or was it something I just created out of this moment? And that's what we're working with the curriculum, and keep practicing you all through all the 10 fetters of how you do that in 10 different scenarios in your life, in 10 different ways we identify in our lives. So everything
Hmm.
you have done so far is super useful. For example, A Course in Miracles is really, really useful, everything you have done, until you reach the eighth fetter
Mm.
that we have in the fetter system. Because the eighth fetter is where you remove even the belief of a God. It's not that we say that there isn't a God, because who are we to know? And it's not that we say that there's not a God either. Again, who are we to know? We can't even say Buddhism is real or anything is real, because all of that is based on beliefs. And that is where the every daily practice that you do in becoming aware of what is actually experienced as real right now is helping you. So when all belief is removed, if you get terminal illness or anything like that, that you're standing at the edge of life and death, that you still have that calm in you in looking at, okay, what is actually real right now? Not in 5 minutes or 5 years, but right now. And that is the practice that we do.
Hmm.
So it's very down to earth, very low practical everyday experiences of equanimity.
That's
Stillness,
great.
simplicity, and contentment in everyday life. Yeah.
To answer your question
And
with a question, though, oh, sorry, I was just going to ask, when you say about your which practice or what you should be doing, whether you have a choice, how are you at sensing your intuition, your kind of gut feeling towards what's motivating you, and how much is just cerebral?
I feel like it's mostly cerebral.
It really helps the more we can become. Are you one of those people who's kind of rarely ever been below the neck, and it's kind of everything is in your head, or do you have any sense of, feelings and clues and sort of messages that are being conveyed in the body?
I would say that's opened up a lot in the past few years as I've gone through these things. So a lot more emotion coming up and processing tendencies and habits. So there is something below the neck, but I
Yeah.
would say
So
probably
so
the
so
vast
so when so
majority
when
is,
you so when you say emotions, you don't mean like emotions in your head. You mean feeling in the body emotions. Love it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
So I think, one thing that we are pretty adamant about is that you should do the practices that feel authentic and relevant in that moment. It might not be for more than a day, it might not be for more than a month. Um, but instead of taking on the idea that this is the thing that I think I should be doing because somebody told me I should be doing this, even though it feels really wrong and I hate doing it and I force myself to do it, that very rarely has really positive effects. There's sort of this inner wisdom that we're tapping into that kind of knows better than the cognitive mind.
Mm.
This feels really right. When I sit down and I do this, I really feel something opening. I really feel drawn to it. I feel a sense of excitement when I start doing that. And so that's really, I think, if you can start to feel that more and more, that's kind of your inner guide of which direction you should be going in that particular day. And that's more
Mm,
important to follow than any external
Mm.
um, guidelines.
okay,
Um,
good.
as for
Yeah.
your question about whether there's choice, I mean that we could go on to a very deep discussion of, because there is, and I'll just say very briefly because I've had this diatribe before. There's always the concern that when we take on the idea of that there's no free will, or that there's no agent, and it's coming from a place of like a conceptual belief, that conceptual belief still has power in changing what we do. We're basically a product of causes and conditions. And the idea that there is no free will is another condition, which is going to lead to a different outcome than the belief that I have free will and agency and everything I choose matters. That's going to lead to a different outcome. I'm not saying that it's because one is true and the other isn't. It's just that it's a belief that is entered into the system and that will cause a different set of behaviors than, each will cause a different set of behaviors, I should say. And it's not to say that one is better than another,
It's
just being aware that it's
yeah,
going to,
can
yeah, yeah,
but kind of just
yeah,
have a
yeah,
little right.
yeah,
It's more. It's not to say that one is right and the other one
yeah,
is wrong. It's just that if you decide for a full day to only notice all the blue things that you see on your way, you're going to have a different experience than if you decide to one day only notice all the red things you're seeing in a day. Your experience on those 2 days are going to be completely different because one day you're noticing the sky much more, the other day you're noticing flowers much more. So it's not that one day is better than the other. It's just two different ways to be in the world. And that's
yeah, yeah.
basically that
But
that if you have that idea that there's no self, I have no agency, there's no one in here, it's not more right or wrong than saying everything is determined and everything has a meaning. It's just two different ways of experiencing life.
so ultimately dropping both if possible, and just coming back to that driver in the body, that feeling of uh authentic, intuition, or yeah, that inner flow, sense of flow, that this just feels right. That is much more powerful because it's undercutting that cognitive idea that, well, I don't have a choice anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter and it's just going to be chosen for me. Or, well, I do have a choice, and the Tibetan Buddhists say that I should be doing this practice every day, but also the Hindus say I should be doing this practice every day. That's also, going to lock you into some belief that creates one specific direction, which may or may not be a good thing. We don't know. but you can find what works for you by really diving below all of that and just going into the gut.
Go
And
to
then
that body, yes, body, no. Yeah.
exactly. And then the insight that you can see things happening spontaneously and that it doesn't feel like there's an agent in there is itself just an insight that arises without having to mean anything or be taken on as a new belief that's going to color your experience going forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and keep us posted.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how you're going.
Yeah, I'll come hang out some more.
Yeah,
Love it.
good.
We're happy to have you
Good.
here.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too.
It's so brave when you have just started the program and
I love
then
that.
rocking up.
I love that. And speaking of
That's
not having
and
started,
not have just starting the program here
yeah,
with
Caesar.
Peter. Hello, my friend. So good to see you.
Hi, I'm happy to see you
It's been
too.
so long. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's
Sorry, I just wanted to say something first because I noticed before Jonathan raised his hand, Laurie was trying to raise her hand in the video.
Oh,
So I don't know if you want to bring her on first and then I can go after her.
would you mind?
I don't mind. Yeah.
Okay with that?
Yeah, but just as long as you promise me you stay along because you
Yeah,
have
that's true.
raised your hand so many times
That's true. And
Yeah.
and
then
then you have had to leave.
do you have to leave today at a certain time?
Like 7, unless her question takes an hour. Well, 7 here in UK, so that's like an hour and 10 minutes from now. So
Okay.
I would expect I have enough
Okay,
time.
so we take Laura first and then you.
And then we'll be right back to you.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Thank you.
Okay,
Caesar.
thank you so much.
Appreciated.
Yeah, no worries.
And there is
Yeah,
Laura all of
Laura.
a sudden.
That was a quick transition.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hello there. Thank you. Oof. What Irene said really spoke to me, and I'm the type of person who can't really cry. So look at me now.
Oh, wonderful. That's amazing.
Oh God. I've been working with a toxic starting point, and just as of last night, I'd listened to the whole 2 hour
Wow. Wow.
video,
That's a
and then
mouthful.
started listening to the toxic starting point talk that you had with someone. And really what came up for me just early on was fear as the dominant emotion, but really it was more solitude, like being alone in the world until I was 12. and and out of that came self-reliance and just not belonging. And all of everything that was said just checked through all of my boxes. And then as life evolved, I felt like I went through those stages of accomplishment, 10 years of really feeling like I needed to do that, not ever for money or power, but just self-worth, I suppose. And then ended up moving around a lot and shape-shifting identities and becoming very social. And in the last 3 years, I decided to move to a very rural place. And I am alone. And I've always felt that self-reliance, but I've been in this situation of like all that old stuff coming up, feeling so heavy in my heart sometimes. I had never really felt loneliness since my earlier years and never put a name on it, even though I knew it was there. It was kind of an out of body disassociation thing. And so I'm going into winter here, a cold, dark winter, which I'm really, on one hand, really looking forward to it this year because I've been in full on work mode, getting a place together that I could live in and a garden. And as of yesterday, it was my first free day, 3.5 years. I mean, really free, like a check.
Wow.
And, but what I'm finding is resistance, everything that I read through that module, all of the practices make so much sense to me and they felt good reading them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
How did I start my day today? Not with one of them, not one. So I know it's on my list. It's a new moon, but it's like giving love to myself,
caring for myself. Do I need to be vulnerable? I don't know. But what was just said about inner flow, I have had that experience in the past. I used to be grounded in a practice, and that helped me with anxiousness and overwhelmment. And I just, through all this and being exposed to your work in the last, I think it's only been 2 months or so. It's like full on.
Yeah.
and
Wow.
and getting it all cerebrally.
Yeah.
But now I feel like you've been my training wheels, and my impulse is to get on those training wheels instead of just sitting. I sit once a week with a group here, but otherwise my sitting practice is like so there I am, and thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. You will find that yes, you're welcome. I have done a lot of the work, but trust me, you are going to do all of the work. You know, this is only a presentation for you to know which direction to look and what tools you have in your tool belt. You still have to build everything yourself. It's a bit like like we are IKEA, and you have to do all of the work, right? We might present you with
Here's your
with
kit.
all the ingredients
Yeah.
of a bookshelf, but you have to build the bookshelf yourself. And yeah,
There is the potential of just allowing that box to sit unopened with all of the parts, unassembled, but knowing that you have a bookshelf in the house, you can't actually use the bookshelf because you haven't actually put it together. So there is a risk with this that people kind of take it on. That's the intellectual understanding that, I get what is being said. I understand it intellectually. I have bought a bookcase. I can't actually place any books on it. I can't really do anything with it because it's in a box propped up against the wall, but I have it. I have the tools to put it together. But then you actually have to put it
have to
together.
put it
That's
together.
really where it becomes a functional part of your house.
And you working with the toxic starting point, that is a biggie. It's really a big one. When you dive into the toxic starting point and you start to notice where everything you hear is always having the same headlight on it. It's always seen from the same angle of, for example, fear or shame or guilt. Really becoming aware of that makes it possible for you to start to be curious to, that is odd. That everything is always with that foundation of fear when other people do not have that. So it can't be true. It's just something that my causes and conditions and my conditioning had led me to believe that I need to be careful and I need to be. But you can
And interestingly, like 3.5 years ago, fear just melted away, and I just don't have it.
That's
I
so
really
wonderful.
just don't have it. I have all the other stuff. And I know it shaped me. Yeah, but it's not fear right now. Yeah.
No, but that's exactly what you say. But it shapes me. Working with the toxic starting point is you starting to become aware of what is shaping you. Then you will work with the bubble of reality, where you will start to notice that everything other people say is always heard with your ears on. So you always hear it with your toxic starting point.
Mhm.
When you really become aware of that and you kind of detach what you think people are saying to noticing what they actually are saying, and to what you think you're thinking, to what you actually are thinking. When you start to notice that difference, a calm and a freedom is going to enter your life where you just have the freedom to breathe in a situation where it's not just like right away knee-jerk reaction of shame coming on, or guilt coming on, or loneliness coming on, or inadequacy coming on, that there's like a little gap where you can breathe and can see, oh, hang on, this that is an underlying belief. What is actually happening right now? What I think Janice is saying, what is actually what is she actually saying? If everybody is just reaching out to connect, what is Janice actually saying when she's, taking the cucumber from our cart? What is she actually doing in that moment? And that gives a freedom where you set everybody free and you set yourself free in the moment to just be with what is arising. And there's no um, preconditioned um, ending point in it. Anything, it's open to anything being as it is. And then I also want to say that you placing yourself in a position where you are the monk on the mountaintop all alone gives you an amazing opportunity to practice. You know?
Yes.
I'm curious, so you said that there's no fear anymore, which is wonderful. But what comes up in that sort of trepidation for the coming winter?
Really, right now, excitement.
Okay.
Really, right now. Uh, it is working more through issues of love and like, who's got my back? And then I find myself going into a forward projection of of all that. I mean, so that would be, if I could say that that's a recurring consideration, that's more what is going on. And I guess that gets to issues of not, yeah, it's of of not accepting, not having accepted love.
Mm. I'm looking out the window behind you and I see these very lovely trees back there. Have you tried, as maybe hippy dippy as this sounds, the
I
practical,
do.
well, both the hugging of a tree, which is love, and also the sitting in front of one and like actively feeling giving love to the tree and feeling that reciprocated love returned from the tree. Have you done that?
No, I haven't, and that would feel really good. Yes.
I see like a surrounding of, opportunities behind
Mhm.
you like this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marianne.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I also want to say that if you do that, then I can recommend you to jump from where you're at now in the second feather and to the sixth feather. Because in the sixth feather, it's the boundary feather. It's where we feel into boundaries, getting strong boundaries for one thing, but also dissolving boundaries between, for example, you and a tree, and you and a cloud, and you and a squirrel. So the boundary is dissolving, and there's lots of exercises that can give you experiences where you are the tree and where you are a squirrel and where you are, and that is just a wonderful opportunity experience to try on. Yeah.
Oh, just perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, of
Yes,
course.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just what I needed.
And
Really appreciated it.
and
And
Yeah.
thank you, Caesar, too.
And it's going to be lovely. I was just saying, in the winter, when if you start to get that feeling of like vulnerability, that you're alone and it's snowy and all of that, and look around and see that you are actually surrounded by all of these other living beings who are there in the same storm as you are, and really look into how are you different from them, and not to create a sense of distance, but to actually dissolve that idea that you are somehow this separate entity that is less. Um, Less meant for this world than they are. We have that false idea that like as humans we're somehow above nature, outside of nature, kind of not
Better than
part of it.
nature.
Yeah, it's like better, but kind of like we haven't emerged from the same earth that they have. We're sort of like these aliens that are kind of inhabiting this foreign land. And really seeing that connection that they are just as much a part of this ecosystem and this planet as we are, and that you are part of that same nature that they are, and so there is no connection or no disconnect or no sense of boundary between them. So having that as a go-to practice during those months when we can very easily kind of isolate ourselves and insulate ourselves from everything else and kind of separate ourselves in our own little box from the rest of the natural world can be really useful.
Mhm.
And
Oh, perfect.
yeah, it's really that you can never ever be alone
Yeah.
out in the forest. I was in my family's summer house for a year and a half. I had an injury and I was in the summer house and there was no internet, no contact with other people, anything. And it was so clear how not alone I was because the forest is alive. There are so many animals, the trees and the leaves. I mean, even a tree has personality. You can see how a tree is feeling during the day because it is just as much as live as a face of a human is. So really start to notice how much life you're surrounded with in that forest that you are. You are absolutely not alone.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Thank
you,
wonderful.
you
Lauren.
so much.
Thank you for
Thanks.
Thank
being
you so
here.
much.
It's
Yes,
been
thank you
lovely.
so much. And
Uh,
let us know how you get on.
Yeah.
I will. I will for sure.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And now it's Caesar.
Now we got Caesar. Thank you for
Thank
thank
you
you for
so much,
letting her go
Caesar. That was
first.
really kind of you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
Really nice to see you guys. Yeah.
Oh,
likewise.
so good to see you.
Yeah. I have maybe a two-part question. I'm not sure. So one is about inquiry, the other one is more about maybe emotion. And the inquiry one, I just wanted to share like a little experience that happened to me. I think it was like maybe a month ago. I think it was August that Angelo came here to the UK and I went to the retreat.
Oh,
And there
nice.
was yeah, and it was a really interesting experience that happened during the retreat where I was sleeping like in not deep sleep, but I was dreaming, but I was very immersed in the dream. Like the dream was very vivid. I was very present with the dream, but it wasn't like I was there watching the dream. It was just a dream, like when usually I dream very vividly. And something tragic happened in the dream, and I woke up out of the blue, like with a shock of adrenaline or whatever, shocked in the body. And then I noticed like the watching whatever, like coming back.
Yeah.
And this, it was something that I was investigating that was like, okay, I see I'm not a story. I'm not like things are just appearing, but it feels like someone is like some invisible being is looking here. And when that experience happened, I really realized, fucking hell, this is like coming on top of like there's like a background that's always here, and this is on top of it. And then my mind went a bit like, oh, what the fuck is going on here? Like who is talking? Who is looking at this experience? And like a lot of fear started to come up. And
Yeah.
I tried to sit with the fear and just feel into it. But I noticed my mind kind of pulling my attention like a ping pong ball, just like look here, look there, and trying to just like pull away from the fear slowly. And then I stayed until the fear just disappeared. And I was like, okay, nothing else to do. I'll just go back to sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And since then, that's the part of the emotion question that I want to ask later. But since then, I've been looking into this, and this has been integrating somewhat in my experience. So it feels like it loosened up a little bit more the identity with things with thinking, and I start to notice the thinking one more as like, okay, a pattern that's going on in my experience, and it's showing up, and it's just doing what it does. And sometimes in meditation, I'm able to like, I've been doing breath work as well as Mark from the community suggested, and it's really good because when you're kind of like high in the breath work, I think it disables something in my brain or
Yes.
the mind. And I can really see that agency, like something trying to figure this problem out, and it just stops, it dissolves, and then there's just the experience happening. And I don't know what part of the curriculum is good to investigate this further because I've been just sitting with this sensation and it's still, and I noticed that sometimes the looking at reinforces this idea of just, so I've been trying to just relax as much as possible. And that's when the emotion part of my question comes in. Doing the breath work, I also noticed. I don't know if it's just because it's a normal physiological response of the body, but I noticed when I'm like in the breath hold, my body relaxes completely, like very, very deeply relaxed. And I noticed my spine slowly starting to tense up again. And like the holding, it's like a holding pattern that's always there. So I don't notice unless there's this contrast of releasing it.
Yeah.
So I noticed that in my path, a lot of people share about fear barriers and like massive fears. And fear has always been something that I avoided at all costs. And somehow my system managed to avoid these like terrors and whatever. I noticed there's been fear, but it's more like psychological fear. My mind goes into these catastrophic thinking, and I kind of learned this pattern, and it's easy to navigate through because I can just drop the stories and feel in the body, but I haven't felt like a lot of fear coming up. So my emotional part of the question would be like, what part of the exercises are, is there anything particular that I can work with repressed fear, or this is something that's just going to happen once the body is ready to feel it, or maybe there isn't anything and I'm just making this up. It's just like, yeah, because
Yeah,
I don't really know what's
it's like
happening.
two very different things, but they are tied together. The first thing is that I would say that this is first Fetter 2.0, because this is when you start to realize that the default mode network that you have in the brain is where the selfing is located. That is where the ego is located. And when you fall asleep, that part is not present in the same way. We don't view, you're much better at explaining that than I am, but we don't view ourselves with the same type of logic that we do when the default mode network is on. And that's why you can completely speak with your dead grandmother and then fly to, Brazil if you want to with your own wings, because the default mode network is not active. But it also means that when we are in that waking up stage that you were in, that you can start to practice feeling that default mode network get active and also get deactivated. And you can, that is what I mean with the first Fetter 2.0, that you can start to practice feeling when the selfing is dissolved and it's just not there because the default mode network is off as you are just before you fall asleep. Your brain waves are changing just before you fall asleep. And the same when you come out of sleep, the brain waves are changing just before the default mode network come back on. And start practicing that. Really start to be aware of, because it makes it so clear that the I that you believe is here, the observer that is in here looking out, it's just part of the brain function. It's just that. There is nothing deeper in it at all. That can be clicked on, off, on and off with electrodes and with psychedelics. So that is just like a switch. And that is really, really interesting to start to explore. Do you want to add something more to that before we go to the
No,
second?
I think that's good. I was just gonna say, I suspect when you said that, it made me think too. When people do jhana meditation and they're in like the
Mm,
deep, deep jhanas and then come out, they often talk about how you can start to see the different layers of the self being fabricated in real time coming back online. And I don't know, I haven't actually read any studies about this, but I suspect it is something where you're actively watching those different parts of the brain basically
coming back
coming
on.
back online and switching and seeing that how that actively uh, colors and changes and creates your experience in real time. But no, go ahead. That was great.
Yeah. The other part where you talk about embodying it is you can use the breath that you already do. And it is about, and you can also do like we did on the in the workshop, in the embodiment workshop, where you use the music that Todd has with the percussion track, where You allow the body to move the way that the body want to move, and you allow whatever comes up to come up. I have a um, a lesson out this week where I talk about that you only know 5% of yourself. And that is basically that the 5% of ourselves that we know is the conscious mind. But that is only the conscious mind. The 95% of you is the subconscious. You're not aware of it and it's not available to ever know. It's just in your body and there is no logic tied into it. There's no wisdom tied into it. It's just underlying beliefs that is shaping your entire conscious experience. But you're not aware what that is because it's subconscious and it will never become conscious. But you have an access point into it when you do exercises, for example, like the free movement, or where you put the percussion track on that Todd has made, where the speed slowly gets quicker and quicker, and the movements get more and more deep somehow. So what you do is you move to the music and you move the way that the body wants to move. Make sure nobody's watching so you can just relax. Don't have a mirror, don't have any conscious idea about how you look when you do it. Just move. And whenever you get a thought of this is silly, or this is you shouldn't move like that, or maybe you should do this instead, then be very much aware that that is the 5% that is trying to decide on how the 95% are allowed to express themselves. Quiet that. Back to just moving the body how the body wants to move, and then see what is experienced and expressed. And you know that it was potent and it was important and it was useful when you afterwards have a feeling of relief, but you have no idea what happened. You can't consciously explain it afterwards. Oh, that was because I had a tension there and then I stretched it a bit, and none of that, because you're back in the 5%. It needs to be experienced and expressed in a way that is not conscious to what the experience actually was, but there's a feeling of relief, or there's a feeling of depth, or a feeling of something is different, and you can't really explain what it is. Then you have tapped into those 95%. And breath work is brilliant. We also have in the immersion retreat that we have in January, we're going to have a lot of breath work as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Wonderful.
That's great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. I felt like I was gonna say something.
Yeah, you were. I felt that too.
Yeah, my brain has been overloaded lately, and it's hard to hold on to. I'm trying to remember what you talked about, what it was sparking. Um, yeah.
We talked
So I
about
can't
the
think.
default mode network, and
That
we
was
talked
before
about
that. Yeah, it was. Oh, do you have more follow-up questions on that that might spark?
No, I think it makes sense what you were saying about feeling the because with the breath work, I think I kind of felt like when something like switched off.
Yeah.
It's like there's like a pull trying a grasping, like a leaning forward, trying to, it's like an augmentation or something like palpable, but then there's something that just relaxes and it kind of like, yeah, so I try to tune into that feeling of relaxation and
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
that's why I asked about the repressed fear, because I have a feeling that this tension in my backbone, and I felt this before, it feels almost like a fear of deeply relaxing. It's like a fear of if I don't keep holding, something is going to happen, like
Yeah.
a fear of life or something like that.
Yeah, which might actually have been absolutely true when you were a baby or when you were a toddler, that if you didn't have that composure around you, you would have, fallen over, you would have had an emotional experience or something. We have no idea. We have no idea. So it's that what we talked about previously, just allowing that to be there, and then be the grounded adult in the room and going like, it's okay, Caesar, I love you. Breathe into this, see what happens, make it wide, make it relax, and I got your back. And then so you are the adult in the room while your body is relaxing and trying to let go of that tension.
And it can also be helpful to constantly remind yourself by looking around. And if there's a contraction there, it's assumed to be that it's like a sense of safety, like you're holding yourself together, you're protecting yourself in some way. That's a rationalization that we're putting on muscular tension right now. And like you said, it might very well have been the case in the past, but now it's really at base nothing more than muscular tension that we are ascribing a certain meaning to. So instead of immediately intellectualizing it and saying that must be what it's about and then going down that road, can you look around you first of all and notice if that's even necessary? Is that relevant to this situation? If you were to relax that muscle, the muscles in your spine, would that actually cause you to be in danger right now?
Mm-hmm.
What is actually at risk if you relax? Are the wolves coming? Are you going to literally fall apart into, a bunch of scattered bones on the carpet? What is really going to happen if you let go? So that you're doing what Pranilla said and having that, the wise adult in the room, and then also rationally looking at it. Is this actually doing what I think it's doing? Is this tension doing what I'm intellectualizing it to be doing? And if I let go, am I any less safe than I am by holding that tension? So that you can, as you're saying, I love you, you're safe, it's fine, you're reinforcing it, but it's not just empty words either. You're really looking around you and noticing, yeah, of course, I actually am safe to let go of that tension in the back because literally nothing is changing when I do that. There was nothing coming for me if I do that. So having that external reinforcement that it's actually okay, that this is not doing that. And then um, you can even go beyond that. I think I would do that first so that you're making sure that you're not bypassing any of the, relevant reconditioning in there. But then also looking at, again, this is just muscular tension. And we don't need to put any meaning on that. And if that's the case, then can you just feel into it and allow that the tension is either there or it's relaxed, and that it doesn't have to be um, some bigger, have some bigger, deeper existential meaning for the whole narrative story of Caesar. It's just, oh yeah, there's tension along the spine, and okay, I can feel that. And what happens when you feel it and don't resist it? You might find that it actually just wants to let go on its own because the body is in less state of resistance in general. You might, yeah,
Yep.
you might find that there's actually resistance to that feeling of tension there, and that resistance is helping to reinforce it. So remaining open to it, questioning the basic fabric of its existence, like what you think it means and what you think it's doing, and then also reinforcing that you're sort of counteracting the beliefs that have supported the um, whole bubble of its existence. That I believe that it's a sense of protection and that it's needed for me to be safe. Question the validity of that argument as well.
Yeah, I also just want to, in a bracket say that we have a muscle that is running from the bottom of the rib and along the spine and into the bottom of the pelvic floor, that if we as children have been hit, or if we have been in a traffic accident, or if we have experienced fallen off our bike, or if we have had any of those, shock experiences, that muscle is contracting because it's creating as safety around the spine so we don't break our back. So it's both an emotional muscle that gives tension, but it's also a physical tension. So an emotional tension and a physical tension that we have in that muscle. So when we start to relax, that feeling that is like dormant in the muscle can come up. So a feeling of unsafety. But like Todd says, are you really unsafe? You might have been in the traffic accident and that was really good that you did the contraction, or when you fell off your bike, it was really good you did that contraction as a protection. But you can relax that now. You're not mid-air almost hitting the ground, So you can actually relax it, and you can feel just breathing into that and getting wide over the back and having that elongation along the spine and that width over your lower back, that you just get wider from the inside while you inhale and exhale, that you can feel that is actually slowly relaxing. And it is what Todd said. You do that emotionally by really looking into, am I mid-air about to crash on the asphalt? Or am I sitting in my chair, breathing, everything's fine? And then the muscle can go, oh yeah, right. Okay, I got it. And then the muscle relax.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was
Thank
lovely
you,
seeing
guys.
you.
Yeah,
So
love
lovely
to see you.
seeing
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bye
Thank you
bye.
Thank you,
so much.
Caesar. Bye. All right.
And we have
Next, we
Susan.
got Susan. Hello.
Hello.
Whoops, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ken.
Ah,
How are you?
oops. Good.
Oh,
There we
that's
go.
echo.
I always have to
Okay.
check my system.
Let me
Is
mute
it?
you on here. There we go.
There we go. Well, thank you both, as always. My question came up with Irene, and I think you maybe answered it with Caesar. But I have this with Irene when I was doing I really want to know what town she was talking about, and I put it in the chat.
I was also
But I think I think she might have popped off, but let me know if you find out.
yeah, will do.
Um, but when I did the exercise with her, when you were leading her through it, what comes up for me is panic. And it's a very familiar panic. Like it's in my head and it moves down. I mean, it's so familiar. And I felt this frustration because I've finally got, with the work, I've finally gotten where I can sit with, emotions or feelings or sensations. And I always think of you two and I go, just sit, just feel it, just feel it, just feel it. But it doesn't go away from me usually.
No.
And I really feel frustrated because you said, like,
I am doing all this
okay,
work for it to go away and it to go. Yeah.
No.
because you're like, if you just sit with it for like 12 seconds or something like that. And I'm like, and so I put my hand up after that, after Irene, because I thought if I still fucking feel this by the time my hand turn comes up, I'm gonna say something. And then what I finally do is because it actually gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And so what I finally always do is I just start to move. So I got up, I made breakfast, I ate breakfast, I cleaned up, and then I just started shaking and shaking and shaking.
Yeah.
But so maybe, I mean, I guess I'm just wondering why mine goes deeper when I sit with it rather than disappears.
Yeah, I love that you're addressing this, because so many people have the same experience and they do not have the guts to raise their hand and ask the question.
Mm,
So I'm meditating to feel love and connection with the entire world, and what happens is it's not happening. So why am I not feeling love and connection with the entire world? I'm meditating every single day. You know, this is not your example, but it's that having an underlying agenda.
uh,
So I want to feel love and connection. I don't want to feel what I'm feeling. This is not love and connection. I want to feel love and connection. So I have decided in my mind what it is I want. I'm doing this to get this result, right?
yes.
And I'm doing this, I'm
Yes.
not, God damn it. And I'm not
Yeah.
getting this result.
Yes.
Fuck. You know
Yeah. And
what
I'm
you're
mad at
missing.
Pernell and Todd. No, I'm
Exactly.
teasing. I'm, I'm
What
like,
what
they're lying to me.
Yeah, exactly. 11 seconds.
Yeah.
11 seconds. Seriously, 11 seconds.
It's been like
12
45
seconds.
minutes.
45 minutes. But the thing is, you have an idea, you have created an idea in your mind of
Yeah.
what peace, love, and compassion is supposed to feel.
Yeah.
What you're feeling is not fitting that mold. You're feeling peace, love, and compassion in a different shape than what you're expecting. You're missing it. You're missing it. It has to be pink. I have all of this orange yellow happening over here. It's not bloody pink. You're missing it, Susan.
I think so.
Yeah. What you are experiencing, no, what you want to experience is happening. It's just not looking the way that you want it to look, or that not that you want it to look, but that you expect it to look.
So it's like oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So the look it has, you need to be absolutely setting all expectations free. And your freedom, your feeling of love and compassion and connectedness is different than anything you could ever imagine. So you need to set your expectation free and to be open to what is different after 11 seconds. It's not going to be like you thought it was going to be. But in 11 seconds, things are different. What is different? You need to slow down and zoom in and really, really be very granular looking what is different, because there you have the direction of where love, compassion, and equanimity is for you. But it's different for all of us. For some people, when they realize it, they laugh. Other people, they cry. Other people just go like, oh, because it's different for all of us. But I can say, and this goes for everybody, it looks different than what you expect. It feels different than what you expect. And when we have an expectation of how it's supposed to be, the flavor is supposed to be like this, and what you experience is not like that, we completely dismiss what is actually there. You know, it's a bit like when you have a partner and you want your partner to show you love and affection in a certain way. And he's building you a shed and he's fixing your car and he's mowing the lawn, and you go like, where are the buns? You were supposed to bake me buns, because for me, I only feel love when you bake me buns. So he might have built a shed and fixed the car and all the other stuff, but you're blind to all that because you're just waiting for this type of love declaration. Do you know what I mean? It's the same with freedom. It's the same with
Yeah.
everything else. We need to let go of expectation, because in expectation, we have an idea of how it's supposed to be, and it's never like that.
So is it related to acceptance? Because what happens for me is I start to feel it and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So then I'm like, why am I doing this?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to answer from maybe a slightly different angle too. If that's okay. So there are a couple things that we investigate that do seem to get stronger as we investigate them. So a lot of things, we can a lot of things in our experience, especially like classically negative emotions, when we start to investigate them, we start to see that they're not the big, scary monsters that we thought they were. They're not as big of a sensation as we had thought they were. In fact, they're actually kind of mild and very bearable. There are a couple things, though, like panic and nausea
And pain.
and pain, though pain can actually also be one of the easier ones depending on the type of pain that we're talking about, that might be easier to see through. But there's a thing with like nausea, when you feel it and you start to just, okay, I'm just going to feel the nausea more, feel the nausea more, you might actually find that you get dizzier and dizzier and queasier, and then you might find that you have to run off and throw up. The question there is, why is it not okay to throw up? There's something in us that is instinctually averse to being dizzy unless we're, enjoy going on carnival rides and spinning until we get dizzy and then we pay for that because that's fun. Or, we have the idea that throwing up is a bad thing. And
The same with
so,
panic,
exactly,
anxiety.
exactly. And so the same goes for when we're talking about those experiences of panic and anxiety and things like that, where the more intent we get on the sensations, the more they may seem to actually expand. So panic is one of the weird ones where we can take a couple different routes of working with it, because um, and this is not just in terms of like the awakening side of things. This also just goes to people who have panic attacks, suffer anxiety disorders, things like that. Um, Sometimes it is healthier for kind of easing out of that panic state by actually focusing out away from those sensations, because the what ends up happening is when with panic we become more focused on our interoceptive senses, right? We have more awareness of like my heart is beating stronger. I feel queasy. I feel, this intensity. And that is often part of the panic attack experience is we become hyper focused in a very self-aware way of what it feels like to be in the body, and there's this feeling that, well, this isn't right. I'm having a panic attack, I'm having a heart attack, something is wrong. And it tends to escalate that way because we become so focused on the internal sensations. Ironically, doing the kind of work that we do is also increasing our interoceptive sense. So we are hyper aware of what is going on in the body. And there are times when those two things do tend to kind of multiply. And if we are in a state where what we're feeling in the body tends to be considered to be a really bad negative thing and is seen to be inherently dangerous, it can amplify that in a kind of magnified feedback loop. Um, so just in general, when people are experiencing panic attacks and things like that, it's often helpful to actually uh, put the attention outside of the body someplace. Take it off of those sensations because those sensations are giving too much internal negative feedback. So instead, we focus on one of my favorite exercises is an old one for panic issues, is to just keep your head straight and use your eyes to trace the outlines of furniture and objects in the room. And you're not bypassing the anxiety or bypassing the moment. You're not deflecting into thought. You're actually being very, very mindful and aware. You're just being selective of where that awareness is going and being able to see stability and calm outside of you, being able to focus away from those out of control sensations in the body, actually calm the nervous system and give us a sense of stability where we can breathe, and it kind of tones things down. Um, there are other things. You can look for stability and calm outside of you. You can look for the motion of tall grass or flowers blowing in the wind, or leaves in the
Leave.
wind, things like that. You can find all these different kind of external anchors. You can also, if you want to have some sort of internal sensation without focusing just on the panic itself, you can find all of those parts of the experience which are either neutral or pleasant. So
Mm.
even when you're feeling anxious and you feel your heart rate and you feel tension and you feel nausea, there are parts of your arms, legs, head, and even the space around the outside of the body that you can feel, which are going to be either neutral or pleasant. And so instead, shift your awareness to those. Feel what your shins feel like right now. Feel what your earlobes feel like. Feel what your hands feel like. Feel what the air feels like around the outside of the arms. So we're remaining present. We're still being very aware of what we're doing, and we're not just deflecting to, old habits of getting lost in the mind or watching TV or something like that to distract ourselves. We're still being fully here with it, but we're keeping things in their proper perspective. So we feel the anxiety sensations, but instead of being the entirety of our experience, they get shrunk down to the proper perspective where it's just part of the totality of this felt world, where we can feel all sorts of other things. We can see and hear all sorts of other things which aren't part of that anxiety experience. Um, so having tools like that can be really, really useful. Then if you get to the point where it's okay, you feel in control, where it's not going to become some spiraling panic attack and you feel like you can still bear it, then what you said about acceptance comes in. Then if you can be with the sensation, you start to feel that kind of existential fear, and the more you feel it, the more intense it gets, and the more intense it gets, if you can take off the label of existential fear or dread or anxiety or panic, just be with the raw emotion or the raw sensation of it in the body. See if you can find, just like with pain, if you can find the kind of interesting um, tactile sensation of that emotion of that we once were calling fear or panic. How is it showing up in the body in the most granular felt sense? Like, what is the atomic buzz of that sensation feeling like? Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Well, I I think so, but it's kind of triggering me because that's where I started, and then it just got worse. It got stronger
Yeah.
and stronger. So I'm like, I'm not going back there.
No, 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 no. I know. I get that. I get that. Um, can I say
Yeah,
something?
yeah, yeah.
It's when you're sitting and noticing, and you say that it gets worse and worse. That means that there's a starting point where this is as worse as I'm allowing it to be. Now it's getting worse than that. That is because you have an expectation of the movement of it. It needs to go that way. It needs to be better, not getting worse. What Todd was talking about was noticing in the moment, in this moment right now, how is it experienced? And allowing it to be experienced. And then it's a full stop and it's a new page. And then noticing how is it experienced now without a comparison to what was previously here, but just what is experienced now. How is it coming up now? And then there's a full stop and a new page. How is it experienced now? And you will notice if you don't draw parallels or weave it together in any way, it's three completely different experiences that you have had within 3 minutes. That is how alive this experience is. And if you have that feeling of this is getting too much, this is getting way out of hand, it's getting much worse, I have to divert some way, you can do some of Todd's experiences or exercises, for example, with noticing something stable outside of you that is non-changeable in this experience right now. A wall, a picture, a chair. You can also notice, like Todd said, something that is moving, have a movement that is giving a perspective to the internal experience that you have. Or you can, draw with your eyes the outskirt of something that is stable, non-moving. So you again are being put into perspective to the internal experience. Because when it gets too much, it is exactly like Todd said, because the interoceptive experience is out of hand. You're out of practice with noticing what is happening, and that can be overwhelming. And there is never anything wrong with diversion. If all of it gets too much and you have to get up and you have to shake it out and it's fine. You're not better or worse from that. You're just, you know, diverting and stopping the exercise. That's completely fine as well.
But ultimately, you are working with, as you said, this kind of building acceptance of what is here. It's the equanimity that you're not doing this, like Pernilla said, to get rid of feelings of fear or dread or panic or any of that. Ultimately, what we're doing is building up this ability to be equanimous with anything that's here. We don't make more out of it with the mind because the mind is usually what takes, something that's like 10% strength and makes it 100%. So by taking off all of those ideas about this is existential fear and this is about me and I need to deal with this because this is just too strong and I can't take it and I don't want it here and I got to do something about it. All of that is just adding to it and making it so much more of an intense experience than it would be if we were just with the raw sensation of it, with putting nothing else on it. Also, to that extent, or to that end, be aware as you're just sitting with it if the mind is contributing in any way. Is there resistance to it? Are you talking about it to yourself? Are you saying, like, okay, this is fucking too much. I can't deal with it. Enough is enough. There are, I did this to get rid of it and it's just getting. Is there any self talk that is amplifying the situation and creating a resistance to it? Or is it really just pure sensation being experienced as pure sensation for seconds or minutes at a time? And as we do that, when we're really with it, we can start to find that even in those intense experiences like pain and fear and nausea and all those things, we can find this kind of neutrality to all of those sensations. We might immediately bristle at that idea and say, no, that can't be, but it can, because it's only our perception of it and our labeling of it and what we've learned to be our conditioned way of viewing these things, which makes it into a problem, or it makes a certain sensation into a pain as opposed to a pleasure. That's mostly learning. There's obviously a biological evolutionary reason for that. We find our hand on a hot stove to be unpleasant so that we don't injure ourselves. But beyond that, you can actually be with the sensation of having a burned hand afterwards. And it doesn't have to be this exquisite anguish that lasts until the burn goes away. We can actually feel that sensation from a different perspective that allows it to be much more neutral without all of the stories on it. And that's the kind of equanimity that we're talking about. So there is in that this kind of acceptance of what's here, but that's more of we can start working it in the beginning, but it's more of the end point. We need to accept that it's there, but it's probably going to be largely cerebral at first, where it's like you're telling yourself that you're accepting it, but there's probably going to be some internal resistance. And as it starts to fall away, that just becomes the more natural way of being with it. How does that sit with you?
I think everything you said makes sense to me. I'm just not there. And I'm thinking back to what Pernilla first said, is that I think one of my big hooks is that I've done the spiritual work and it's made my life so much better. And I've done therapy and I've made my life so much better. So I think that's one of my hooks, is that all of this makes my life better. It makes every moment better. It makes my relationships better. And so I just have seen that arc. And so I think there's a hook in there for me that is why I'm doing this. If I'm honest, that's exactly why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for any other reason. And so maybe there's some way I don't know what to do with that, because
No, but yeah, if what I would like for you to hold lightly is what better means. Because if we're
okay.
talking about freedom,
Hmm.
if we're talking about setting you and your body and your experiences free and setting other people free, that means that whatever is arising is allowed to arise. Better is a box. Better can only be in comparison with something else. It has a
Well,
certain flavor. Do you know what I mean?
but I think that's my hook, is that I do. I think I see what you're saying. I think I'm just not there, because I like to feel peaceful. I like to feel happy. I like to feel relaxed.
We all
And
do.
so
Yeah.
I'm aiming for that. And what
Yeah.
you're saying is, no, aim for what is, and then and then that's true freedom,
Let that
I
be peace.
think.
Let that be peace. Let that be happiness. Let that be freedom. Whatever is here right now, allow that to be peace and freedom and equanimity, no matter what flavor it has, no matter how it looks. Allow that to be okay on a level, so even that can be peace and even that can be happiness.
I hear you, but I'm just not there. I'm not there. I would like to be there,
In the
because I
mean,
hear you.
in the meantime, think of it like this. If your
Okay.
car is broken and you take your car to the mechanic, there's a point where if you were watching them do it, they would have to disassemble the car, and it's going to look like the
Mhm.
car is getting more and more broken before
Yeah.
they actually fix the problem and put it back together and it runs correctly. If you come at it that every time you do an exercise, you have to see an improvement, you're locking yourself into this box where there's
Mhm.
an expectation that every time I do this, I have to feel a little better and it has to go away. Every time I do it, it has to be. You don't know what the long-term effect of it is.
Yeah.
What you experience in this next half hour might be deeply uncomfortable, but it might, in the long arc of your
Oh,
have a completely beneficial, to the end point that you're talking about, where you can have acceptance for whatever's here, or that you have peace and contentment even with that gone, we don't know what that outcome is going to be. So you have to be okay with, right now, I'm doing the practice, and it might be that it feels really uncomfortable and it's, looks like the car is being disassembled and it's never going to run again. Doesn't mean that this is the end point. This is just one stage along this path that is going to keep changing throughout. And you, like, learning a language, it's hard when you first start learning the language. You're fumbling over words and you don't understand things, but every time you do it and you make a mistake, you learn something more, and your overall arc is towards a comprehension of the language that you wouldn't have if you just said, yeah, but I can't speak the language, so I'm never going to speak the language.
I'm not fluent. I have an expectation of being fluent right away,
Yeah.
and I'm not fluent, which means I can't learn the language. What we're saying is set the experience free to not being fluent,
Yeah.
but learn in a way that you are fluent with one more word.
Yeah.
Everything is English and you have one more new word. And now everything is English and you have two more new words. And allow that to be fluency. It's not fluent in the way that you want it to end up being, but right now, this is fluency. So right now, this is happiness. Right now, this is equanimity. It's not the way that you had imagined it to be, but this is how it is right now. And this is absolutely fine. This is absolutely okay. This is absolutely bearable and lovely and full of contentment and equanimity. It's not how you imagined it, but that is just how you imagined it. It's not how reality is. Reality right now is full of stillness, simplicity, and contentment in this shape. We did not expect that, but this is how stillness, simplicity, and contentment looks right now.
And this is the most fluent you will ever be in that language. Or, I mean, this is the most fluent you have ever been in that language.
Yeah.
It might not be the most fluid you will ever be, but in this moment, this is just, take note that this is what fluency feels like, or, this is what my understanding of this language is right now. And then be open to the fact that it's going to change every time you do it. You're going to feel a different level of fluency or a different level of understanding.
I want to say that I was teasing you that I get mad at you. I've never felt mad at you too. I feel so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. We love you so much.
I love you too, and you've just been such a gift to me. So
Aw,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Let me know if you. Oh, that was wonderful.
So sweet.
So much love.
Did you have anything else to follow up on that?
No, but I'm gonna just let that soak in and with gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
just try to, my whole thing will be like, this is what I'm feeling. Perfect. Great. Thank you. Wonderful. I think that might be a simple,
Exactly. This is how love and equanimity feels right now. It's not
yeah.
how I expected it to feel, but this is how it feels right now, and that is okay.
I think that would just be this, because I'm trying to think of how I can do it simply. And I think that's how I could do it. Like, oh, I have a headache. Perfect.
It's
Wonderful.
okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely okay. It's okay. The headache is allowed to be here. I can create
Yeah.
space for the headache to be here. I
Yeah.
still feel stillness, simplicity, and contentment. I still feel
Yeah.
love and equanimity. I still feel that. I also have a
Yeah.
headache, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And feel what
I
it's like.
think that, oh,
And feel what it's like without the label headache, because it's a very different experience.
okay.
It's like when we're doing the first Fetter stuff, a lot of times, like in LU, there's a very common exercise where you say what you're doing now with the word I in it. So I am typing on a keyboard. I am tasting coffee. I am hearing a sound of a truck outside. And then you do the same practice, but without the word I. There is
Mhm.
typing on a keyboard. There is the sound
Mhm.
of a truck. There is the taste of coffee. And in that, there is a difference in our um, perception of the experience when we're putting an I in the center of it, as opposed to just the actual experience of the thing happening to no one. So our labeling counts. It does change the perception of the experience. And in that same way, the idea of I have a headache versus there is sensation here is a huge difference in our experience of the thing. So practicing with that, where even though we have been taught that I have a headache and I can go to the doctor and say I have a headache and he's going to say, okay, I'm going to do some tests or, take an aspirin. Instead of looking at it from that perspective, we just try and say, there's sensation here. And then just get acquainted with that sensation without any thoughts about it being me or a headache or, God forbid, my headache. We just see what it's like. And that alone brings so much more acceptance and uh, judgment-free awareness of the experience.
Yeah, because I'm very fast to be like good and bad. I'm very fast with that.
Yep. And
So
then
you're saying just be middle.
present with what actually is without the judgments, because the judgments
Yeah.
don't exist. There is for every experience we can have, there are a huge number of people which are going to disagree with you and experience it completely the opposite of whatever it is. Even pain. There are people who very much enjoy what we consider to be pain. There are people who pay
Huh.
to endure, pain
Oh, that's
daily,
right.
right? So there is no experience that you can imagine which somebody else is going to completely agree with you is bad or good. That is always our own perception and our judgment. It's a learned, conditioned judgment. So that judgment is always empty of its real nature. It does not have any inherent nature of itself, which means every sensation that we can experience is empty of a true nature. Every sensation is inherently empty of being good or bad or otherwise. It is just the pure sensation that it is. It is conditioned, it is impermanent, and it has no inherent valence of being a good thing or a bad thing. Every part of that is something that we have to impute upon it. We put that judgment on it, and then we react towards that as though it's a real thing, as though it's true. And that creates the me versus it mentality. I need to get rid of it because I don't like it. I need more of that though, because I do like that. That's pleasurable to me, so I need more of that. That puts us in that constant trap of pushing and pulling to get less of what we don't want and more of what we do. But it's only because we're relating to things not as they are from their truly empty nature, but as instead from our perceptual overlay, our judgment that has created them in our own image and then created ourselves in opposition to that image. That's what we're undermining by taking off all the labels and simply being with what's there underneath all of our judgments and perceptual overlays.
That's interesting. I don't want to keep going on, but one thing I saw recently is just how much I'm fighting myself inside. So that's kind of what you're also talking about. Like I was mad, my hot water heater broke and I was mad and I was like, "Oh my God, you're such a little bitch. You've got this beautiful home and then I thought, geez, I mean, I'm mad that I don't have hot water. I'm mad that the people are blaming each other. And then I'm mad at myself for being mad. And I was like, oh my Lord. So is it kind of like a little bit like that, like just fighting myself in?
Pull yourself up. Pull yourself
Yeah.
up. And then look at the situation from that meta awareness, where you look at it from above, as if it was a movie that you're looking at, and you're completely objective, just noticing what is happening. Because there is no good or bad in having hot water or not having hot water. There's no good or bad in people being against one another, arguing. That is something that we are inferring to the situation. In and of itself, there is nothing that is good or bad. Everything is, like Todd said, is empty of any inherent value, any inherent existence. We have just created an opinion about it, and it's the opinion that gives us ulcers. It's not the water heater. The water heater can be as the water heater want to be.
Right.
Also happens when you get an opinion about the water heater.
You're right, because I was like, it's only 1 year old and somebody messed something up. And so I'm like, well, that shouldn't have happened. And it's like,
It's a story.
It's a story which you just created, and that is giving you an alter.
There's an idea
There is,
that
it's not.
a water tank that's only a year old, should have a longer lifespan and shouldn't
yeah,
break down. And those are all just assumptions.
yeah,
Clearly, a 1 year water heater breaks down.
Yeah,
You have the
yeah,
evidence in your house.
yeah. You were just
yeah,
you were just wrong about the assumption about what its lifespan should have been.
yeah.
We were mistaken. Okay. New
You're,
information has come in. They can break down.
and then, and then what? Yeah, somebody that like there was a series of mistakes made, and so then all these three people are all arguing and complain to me about why it's the other person's fault, and I'm just like, and I was like, why is everyone arguing with me? They know I'm going to pay for all of this, even though it's somebody. And then I was like, but so like you said, just be like, yeah, this is what people, this is all right. Yeah. Here I am. I have a 1 year old water heater. Three people are traipsing through my house, which I don't like, telling me why the other people are at fault. And it's like, yeah, okay. It's
Our,
as opposed to, ah,
yeah, exactly. Our fridge broke down it didn't break down. It started to leak at the end of August. We still have people arguing with one another about our fridge that is still leaking. We have, in the meantime, gotten a new floor in the kitchen because it leaked onto the floor, and they were
damaged the
also
car.
arguing, and so it was like, but it's more just like an acceptance of this is how it is, and all of their arguing that they're doing, we can sit and look at it at a distance and see they're not arguing about our fridge at all. He has issue with his dad, and she has issue with her mom, and they're sitting and arguing with their internal mom and dads and pretending that it's about our fridge. And it's just, and it's just bring the popcorn, bring the popcorn to the show.
It's so funny. I have to write that down. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone. Um,
So
uh,
exactly. So whenever you have that feeling that this is how it should be, a water heater should
yes.
be more than 1 year. It's just part of the manuscript for the show.
Yeah. And when I'm like,
Bring the
nobody, I shouldn't be having to pay for this because it wasn't even my fault. It's like, no, that's part of the show too. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm going to be paying for it. Nobody else is claiming any responsibility. Well, they're all claiming the other, you know what I mean?
Of
It's
course,
like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
all of it, just go,
But in that, keep your equanimity, keep your
uh-huh.
calm about it. Keep your
Mhm.
calm about it. There's no need to get all wind up about stories.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
it's just a water heater that everybody thinks should live longer than a year,
yeah,
and it didn't.
yeah.
It's a very,
And
very
so realize it's just a story. Realize I'm making a whole
absolutely,
story.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. See, what parts
yeah,
of this experience could everybody agree is the way that it is? There's a water heater that's broken. Probably
yeah,
everybody involved in the situation would agree that the water heater no longer works or leaks.
yeah,
That's about it, right? Beyond that,
yeah,
nobody agrees with whose fault it is, or who should take
yeah,
responsibility,
Or who should
or
pay?
who should pay, or what the
yeah,
best course of action is. All of that is arbitrarily up to the stories of each individual person who's involved. The base fact that you can experience in any moment is the one which everybody basically has some sort of consensus on. That is a non-functional water heater. That's about the extent of what we can say about it.
yeah, yeah.
Everything else has to be a judgment and a story that's placed on top of it.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing is, yeah, there's so much of my story in it. I'm complaining about all their stories,
Yeah,
but it's really I'm putting just as much story on the whole
it's
thing
it's
as
your
all of
it's your
them.
it's your bubble of reality. Whatever you're complaining about, look at the mirror, because there's so
Yeah,
many insights to you about you in
yeah,
that. Whatever you complain about in them, it's just a mirror about yourself. Write them down
yeah,
without any judgment. Just write all of it down, and then you have an amazing insight to what it is you're judging you for.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's exactly it. All the story, all the blame, all what should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything they're saying is exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
And every
Somebody
time,
else's fault.
exactly,
Somebody's wrong.
Yeah.
exactly. And every time that you
Yeah.
have one of those internal admonishments against one Susan admonishing the other Susan for
Yeah.
acting and thinking a certain way, it's the same thing. It's just this plurality of viewpoints that's all encapsulated in one being. You have one Susan that goes, yes, but you should be happy. You have a lovely house, and the only thing wrong with it is a leaking water tank. And the other one's like, but yes, but the water tank shouldn't be leaking. It's only a year old. And then, but yeah, but now I feel bad that I'm upset about that. That's all.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. It's a story built on a story built on a story, and it just shows that there are all of these inner narratives that are working concurrently against each other, but none of them have any real reality in the moment. They're just thoughts that are all echoing different viewpoints back and forth on experience. But what is truly at the root of it? What is the consistent internal viewpoint in any of those stories? Try to find that, because otherwise it's just thoughts talking about thoughts, talking about thoughts, talking about thoughts. What
Well,
can you
now I want to know what it is.
Yeah, well, you need to find what is it that's below all of those thoughts.
Uh-huh.
What
Hmm.
is that the in the center of all of it?
Well, I'll have to sit with that. Yeah. Yeah. But thank you so dearly.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely.
Love you so much.
We do.
I love you both.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Susan. All right, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye. Okay, last up we've got
Yeah, we
Kathy.
actually had
Oh,
Mark, but I don't know if he's
yeah,
still here.
I don't know. He's popped in and out a couple times. I
But
don't know if
we
he's.
can take Kathy and then we can see if Mark is still here
Yep.
when we get to that.
Hello, Kathy.
Hello.
Welcome. Oh, you are muted.
You
Hold
are
on. Let
muted.
me
You are muted.
ask you to unmute. And
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
can
can.
now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you
We're
so
good.
much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
So you actually kind of answered, like my concern or my question. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to tell you what my train of thought is, and maybe, you can just give me more input. So fear is the subject today, I believe. And that's, for me, it's a companion that I've known for all my life. Right now, I'm in a situation where I went in for a routine screening, and there was something that is suspicious that they found. And I could feel when the radiologist came in to tell me, I could feel very viscerally, like exactly what you just described with, my heart rate. It was like a volcano, but it was really just in that instant when that happened, when they told me that.
Yep.
When I left that office, I was really calm. It was all gone. But right now I'm in that situation, that waiting period where I have to wait till, I get a biopsy to really find out what this is. And what I'm going through right now is, like people around me saying, oh my God, this must be awful because you have to wait. You don't know what this is. But I don't feel like that at all, because what I feel like is, regardless of this outcome of what they're going to tell me, if they say this is something benign and I feel elation,
Yeah.
it is just a story. It is just in that moment. That doesn't mean anything, in that sense that, okay, do I know all the time what's going on in my body anywhere? I don't. Right now they will tell me this is benign, and I'm like, oh, thank God. But what's going to happen 6 months down the road somewhere else? Or,
Exactly.
eventually this will happen. So I feel like the elation is something that's mental, but on the other hand, also if they tell me it's malignant, what I then will face is this fear, but I feel like has nothing to do with that. The fear is already here. So it's just that this outside thing is uh, is not causing that. Actually, it's fear that is here, and I think it's existential fear.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, but this is kind of like what you. So I found it beautifully. I think you you kind of answered already.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
I
I don't.
I love that you use this experience to really become clear about what this is actually about. Because
Mm-hmm.
nobody who is here at this
Yeah.
meeting right now is more dying than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are all dying equally much.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment we're born, we know that we are going to get sick, we're going to die. If we're lucky, we're going to get old.
Yeah.
Anybody here can get a diagnosis of cancer and never die of it because they get hit by a bus before that.
That's a good, it's
You know?
true. You don't
So
know.
it's like
Yeah,
none
you're
of us are
right.
dying
Mm,
more than
mm,
anybody else. We have no idea when we're going to die or how we're going to die. No matter what the biopsy is going to tell you is an
mm-hmm.
indication of how you are going to die.
Oh, good
We do
point.
not
Yeah.
know. We do not know. The doctors can
Mm,
give you a diagnosis. Nobody
yes.
can give you a prognosis
Mm-hmm.
because
That's true.
that is not available to any of us. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think that
True.
when we get diagnoses like that, or when we experience loss, that we lose loved ones, we get in contact with our fear, that with our existential fear, that
Mm-hmm.
fear of dying, that is so deep in us, and that I think is way back to pre-verbal, when we were babies and when we were toddlers, when we felt that deep existential fear. That is
Mm-hmm.
the recognition that we have in our body.
Yes.
And I think that is what we get in contact with. And then we just put the story on it, but it's because of my diagnosis, or it's because I lost a loved ones, and we just put that story on it and build on that instead of really feeling how it feels to be a human being and know that I will get sick and I will
Mm-hmm.
die. I don't know when and I don't know how. I know that is going to happen, and sit with that without the stories about it, but just sit with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that you're using this to notice and get that
Mm-hmm.
clarity that, oh wow, when I was in there and I saw the face of the radiologist, and they said that they wanted to do a biopsy. I felt scared, but when I left, I didn't. There was no
Mm-hmm.
difference in my body
Yeah, it
from
wasn't.
before, the test and after the test. No difference whatsoever, because there you have the clue. That
Mm-hmm.
is exactly how it is to be a human being. We do not know when we die or how we die. We know we are going to
Right.
die, but not how. And
Mm-hmm.
that calm and ease that we have in life when we don't think about dying, that is always available.
Mm-hmm.
So even with a diagnosis, you still have that calm in you, because you only think of dying when you think of the diagnosis.
That's
Otherwise, you
true.
think about, what am I going to have for lunch? Am I going to go for a walk? Oh, the sun is shining. I would like to go. That is all that is on our minds. Oh, I have to pay my taxes. That is all that is on our minds. We only think of dying when we think of, yeah, death or a diagnosis or anything like that. Otherwise, it's not part of our minds.
Mm-hmm. So is that a pushing away though, if it's not, when we're not thinking about it, because it's a reality, right? Or how the saying is in, I believe in Buddhism, and they saw it also in Sufism, die before you die, right? And I would
Exactly.
love to die before I die. I mean, this is actually, I mean, stupid to say I would love, but I would
Yeah.
really, I would love to go through the psychological death, so that
Yeah,
when death comes,
yeah. Can
Well,
can can I just finish
yeah,
that and
yeah,
then you
yeah,
say,
yeah.
um, um, the thing is, you are already dying before you're dying. Every single
mm,
moment is not like the previous moment. We only believe that the
mhm,
previous moment is like this moment because we're weaving things together, and our brain is built in a way so we feel things are connected. In reality, they're not. There's nobody here at this
mm,
meeting that are the same person as when we started the meeting. That person
mhm,
is dead. Other things
Mm-hmm.
has happened in you while you've been sitting and listening. All the insights you have had with all the sharing that has been here has changed your psychology.
That's right.
The Kathy that was there when we started the meeting is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, when you
Mm-hmm.
go to bed and you think back to how you were this morning, that person is dead.
Mm-hmm.
That person is not here anymore. And becoming aware that you are dying every moment. There are cells dying. There are new cells being born. There are insights happening. There are new sight. You're seeing things that you haven't seen before. That is happening all the time. And clicking that reboot button in you
Mm-hmm.
makes you realize that you are dying every single moment and you're reborn every single moment. We just have this idea that because the physical death that we have in our experience seems to be a final thing. But
That's
in
right.
actuality, when you are no longer on this planet, there are not less atoms than when you were here. Nothing has
Mm-hmm.
changed on the atomic level. Whether your physical being is here or not, the atomic level, everything in the universe is the same. Because we're not really
Mm-hmm.
going anywhere. But just because we
Mm-hmm.
have this experience with time and this experience with that linear experience of a past, present, and a future, it feels like, and we are biological beings, and we get older when we're fortunate, and we get gray hair and wrinkles and all of that if we're fortunate. Because we have that experience, we believe that there is something that at some point ends. We don't
Mm-hmm.
really have any proof of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
You
That
want
makes
to?
sense.
Yeah. Two things.
Yeah.
First off, I wanted to applaud that when you also had the realization that if it comes back that if it's benign, that still doesn't really mean
Mm-hmm.
anything. That
Mm-hmm.
I've always and I say this and I don't want it to sound heartless or anything because I don't mean it that way, but I've always found it to be a funny thing that when people get a possible cancer scare or something like that, and then they find out that
Yes.
it's benign, they celebrate as though they're now immortal. And it's like, okay, yes, I have beat it.
Yeah,
I'm
it
never
just
gonna die. And it's
it
such
doesn't.
a sort of like, and that's why I say, it is wonderful. I'm glad that you're going to
Uh,
survive for, some more years, hopefully. But
but
like you said, we don't know.
we don't know. Yeah.
But we don't know. But everybody
Mm-hmm.
has that expiration date as far as we're
Mm-hmm.
aware. The physical body
Mm-hmm.
seems to always have an
Yes.
ending point. And we have all
Right.
of these psychological mechanisms to kind of deny that fact, to ignore it, to bypass
Mm-hmm.
it. I mean, I've seen some studies where they ask, like how often people think about death. And I have always found it remarkable at how little people consider death and mortality. For whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason, I've just been one of those people that since I was a little kid, I think I have always been, conscious of it like all the time. Like it's kind of at the forefront of the thoughts in some way or another. So
Beautiful.
hearing people who like, yeah, I just never think about it. That is so foreign
Mm-hmm.
to me because that has just never
Yeah.
been
For
experienced.
me too. Yeah.
Um,
Because I.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
having that recognition that it is a
Mm-hmm.
possibility and very, very
Yeah.
much a likelihood is
Yeah.
really important for us to start to get acclimated to the sense of it. But then what I would also recommend is starting to look at what it is that you believe can die.
Mm.
First of all, what the
That's
concept of
interesting.
dying is, right? Because the idea of
Yeah.
dying is that there's an end of something.
Yeah.
What is that thing? And what is
Right.
it which is going to experience that transition, end, or however you conceptualize it?
Mm-hmm.
I recorded uh, an inquiry a couple
And
years ago
yeah, a long
now.
time ago now.
It's a fear of death inquiry, which is to kind of help parse apart what you think it is. Where is the sense of the self who is going to, at some point, die?
Yeah.
And I would recommend doing that or things like it and really looking into
Mm-hmm.
what feels right now like the thing which is under threat that can die. And try to,
Mm-hmm.
go through, is it the physical body? Go through all of the different attributes of what it means. Um, you cut your fingernails and your hair all the time. Is
Right.
that the part of the body that we're concerned about? Okay, but if it's not that, what if we lost a limb? Am I now dead because I've lost a foot or a leg? How much can we cut apart that is separate from this sense of what the body is and how the
Mm-hmm.
body needs to be alive? What I
Right.
take to be me and my association with the body, how much can change before it stops being me? You know, if you do lose a foot and it's sitting on a table across the room from you in a hospital, is that still your foot? You know, how do we extend this identification? And we can kind of
Mm-hmm.
work through that and work through, well, then if it's my personality, that's what's going to
Yeah.
be lost. And then work through the aspects of what is it that I consider to be this personality? Where's the consistency? Where is
Mm-hmm.
that which seems to be this discernible personality that has never changed in the entire time that I've been alive?
Mhm.
Is that true? You know, do you have any
Mm-hmm.
similarities to the 5-year-old who, Kathy, who, you know, you share the name with?
Mm-hmm.
Going through each of these and really investigating what right now is the thing which is deemed to have been consistently there from the time that I was born. What is the thing which I am afraid is going to hit a brick wall and then suddenly stop being? The thing that's going to fall into the void. What is that thing? And see if you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably you won't, but it's in that looking and not finding that the dying before you die happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we actually psychologically kill the self, or that in the non-dual sense that the self just stops existing. It's that we're undermining every belief that we have about the substantial reality of that self. We
Mm-hmm.
make it so that that sense of self has no place to stand anymore. And the reality of it that we once felt so strongly has no substantiality anymore. It just can't exist on its own. And so
Mm-hmm.
for that, we just investigate all the different aspects of what it seems to be that can die, and then let each
Mm-hmm.
one of those be seen through as being empty of that inherent nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. You know, when you just said that, it all of a sudden it just came to me like it's the fear of facing the unknown, but the unknown is already here. My mind is just making up that it thinks it knows. It doesn't
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
But it feels like when that moment comes, where do I go? Or whatever this is that is experiencing, and I don't even want to call it necessarily me, right? That thinks it's going to face some unknown. But I think there's always this unknown that
Exactly.
this is
Absolutely.
actually, mm,
Exactly. You wake up in the
Absolutely.
morning, you're waking up into the unknown. You walk out the door, you're walking into the unknown.
it's true.
You're
Yeah.
tuning into
We just make that. Mm-hmm. But right now, yeah, absolutely.
exactly.
I can warmly recommend you to do the fear of death inquiry that we have on the
Where is that? Yeah, I'd love
yeah,
to
it's an
find it.
unfettered mindfulness on that YouTube
Uh-huh.
channel. Yeah, and if you just search fear
Fear of
of
death.
death inquiry, I think
Yeah.
it's called, you'll
Mm-hmm.
find it. It's really, really good. And also for
Okay.
anybody
Wonderful.
who don't think they're dying.
Yeah.
You know, it's good for everyone because it's working with that underlying belief that we have about
Mm-hmm.
what death is and what I am, yeah, am. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
really
you.
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Wait, sorry.
It was really nice talking to you guys. And I was so nervous about just even speaking up. And so I
Oh,
really appreciate
look
that
at you.
fear
you
fear
made
of
it.
the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah, fear the unknown.
It's
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
every opportunity is an opportunity to see that and to feel
Yeah.
that sense of fear come up. And I just
Yeah.
want to say, what's that
Mm-hmm.
last thing? Because it was about that fear of unknown aspect. Um, what was it? I'm sorry. It was there and then it drifted off. But I think it is important when when we're inquiring into what that sense of being is that's going to, you know, fall off the cliff into the void, looking at that the fear that anything can happen to that one. The idea that this is similar to what we talked about with Irene and Susan too, that there's this feeling
Yes.
of the fear. It reflects back to the one who is going to undergo some ordeal.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So continually, when you have that fear of the unknown, for one thing, recognize that whatever happens then is exactly what is happening now. There is no one who is in control this moment of making that next decision and padding the way into the future. Whatever happens at that moment of transition is what's going to happen. There is an ability to just let go and accept, just like when you get in the car today or tomorrow, you accept when you turn that key or get into the passenger seat that anything can happen. You might get to the destination, you might get there late, you might have an accident and never get there.
Yeah, you're right.
Willfully accept in every moment that anything could happen. We
It's true.
usually don't think about it because we think it's morbid or something like that. But if we were really being honest about our experience,
Yeah,
every time you eat a food, you could choke on it. You
it's
could have an
true.
anaphylactic reaction. Something could
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
without being, consciously obsessed and becoming paranoid
Mm-hmm.
about like that,
Mm-hmm.
we just
Yeah.
accept that every moment anything can happen. And
Mm-hmm.
you can start to relax and have a surrender to the fact that everything is
Mm-hmm.
unknown. It's
Yeah,
playing out.
everything.
And that is no different in the last
Mm-hmm.
moment of what we consider to be life, the last
Mm-hmm.
breath that the body takes. That's no different than sitting down to eat your dinner or getting into a car.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So continually reminding ourselves of
Mm-hmm.
the unknown in every moment, and then looking back at that, who is it that is undergoing that ordeal? Who is it that is right now at danger of eating this next meal or in danger of getting into a car? And let that continually be a point of introspection so that you're
Mm-hmm.
always reflecting back on where is that
Mm-hmm.
self that could die?
Yeah.
And again, that is what's going to effectively allow that dying before you die to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
Thank you
much.
so
I
much.
Thank you
really
so much.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Lovely
Okay.
speaking with you.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Can we check
Okay.
if Mark is here? I don't
Is Mark still
see
here?
if you remove our
Yeah,
spotlight up in the left.
find it.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
No,
Nope. Just us.
that was us.
All
Okay,
right.
you guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Great
So good
seeing
seeing you, and
everyone.
thank you so much for all the shares.
Yeah.
Everything you guys have shared has been wonderful. Really, really happy to see you and see you on the 18th of November.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
Bye.
month.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.